For the fans. For the players. For all the news. Firebirds Weekly. This week's guest is Michael Plaisance.
Henry Nell Kicking. Professional training with the personal touch. While it is important to start young, attention to details and creating good habits is just as important. You will get the results you are looking for, using tried and true practices proven at the professional level. When you're ready to up your kicking game, enroll in Henry Nell Kicking Training. You will be glad that you did.
Welcome to Firebirds Weekly. I am your host, Adam Samarov. I am joined tonight by my co-host, Chris Sipperly. We are presented by Dude Wipes and Henry Nell Kicking. Tonight's guest for Season 2, Episode 6, already through 6 episodes, is live and in person for the first time since week 1 of Season 2. It is Firebirds trainer Michael Plaisance. Mike, how are we doing tonight, man?
Doing really good, Adam. Thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate it.
No, thank you for coming on. We threatened each other to do this since the wrap up of the media day. Leading up to the AF1 Crown Championship. So, yeah, we're very excited to have you on, and we're excited to kind of let people know who you are, how you ended up here, and what you had to do to be here in the first place. So,
awesome. I'm excited to elaborate on that for you.
So I do want to say, since you said that everybody kind of knows what's going on here, you will not be coming back in 2026.
In a full-time role, that seems very unlikely at this point. I have recently accepted a new job as the head athletic trainer at Hudson Valley Community College.
Excellent. Congratulations on that.
Thank you very much. I have a staff, Nicole Bauerschmidt, new last name, who just is joining us shortly here. And so I work with Coach Ware, Coach Cisse, Coach Gooch, all those guys with the football program over there as well.
Mm-hmm.
Looking forward to opportunities where I might be able to squeeze in and work here and there, but a full-time thing is probably out of the picture.
So did you do any work with them during their season? Like for the Hudson Valley season, or is that assigned to somebody else?
No, I was working with them for the season, so
Okay.
Back to traveling, back on the bus.
Awesome.
So
That's
I got
great.
to have some time with them. It's good to see those guys, and it's really easy to connect. And they had a sigh of relief themselves. When people are working part time, it's like, I don't know who I'm going to see today, but they're like, oh, Mike's back.
That's great. I mean, that's super important. I mean, you play a vital role in the team, and certainly with the players and player safety, that sort of thing. So it's critical. Got to have people that you trust.
Yeah, player safety is absolutely like my number one priority. That's what I'm there for at the end of the day. So, and it's great to work with good people, and I've had a lot of good opportunities in my career so far to do that. And the Firebirds and working in this arena football setting has definitely been one of the highlights of my career.
So Mike is local to the Capital Region. He is from Bennington, Vermont. Went to Mount Anthony Union High School. And then went to Castleton. Tell me about getting into the athletic training field in the first place. Why, did you decide, that was the path you wanted to take?
Yeah, so athletic training was something, it wasn't something I knew about right away. I mean, I played sports in high school, so that was my first exposure to it.
Mm-hmm.
Science was always something that I kind of leaned toward, the biology kind of thing, and I thought about a lot of different medical professions. Took the medical professions class at the CDC and had Kathy Slade as a teacher. Shout out to her. She was one of the most influential teachers I've ever had, and she taught me a lot and just kind of exposed me that there is an opportunity to do medicine and sports together. And so that's kind of what pushed me into working in this setting.
Well, since it was the CDC when you were there, I won't slap your hand and say Southwest Tech.
That's right.
But then, talk about going to Castleton. I mean, obviously, staying fairly close to home, about an hour away. And just talk about your time there, getting into, that field and coming out of there with your, bachelor's in athletic training.
Yeah, so going to Castleton was a really great experience for me working with sports because, you can go to, a Division I school to be an athletic trainer, and I'm sure you learn a lot. I'm sure they have great professors, but I've heard from many different people that I've worked with in the past that you don't get the hands-on experience working with Division I players that you might get at a Division III NCAA school, just because those players make a lot of money for the school. They're very important to the school, so they're not putting anything to chance when it comes to, student learning. That's not really a priority. And obviously, as a student, as a someone who works in medicine, you never want someone to get hurt. But if you're going to learn something, someone has to.
Right.
That has to happen, and you have to have that experience hands-on, seeing it for yourself, knowing what those special tests feel like, and seeing how everything presents. And the opportunity at Castleton was really just so in depth, and you really got to work as soon as you completed whatever chapter of that class that you were doing. As soon as you completed the ankle evaluation chapter, boom, the next ankle that walks in the room, that's yours. You get to take a look at that, put your hands on it, put your eyes on it, and you have the guidance of older students and then the preceptors who are great and are there to help you along the way.
I remember, covering, sports in Bennington. I remember the trainer at MAU was Jeff Wood, and every spring he'd have the guys, with him from MCLA having that same kind of experience of, okay, hey, get in there and see what's going on, again at the high school level. I'm assuming it's something similar at Castleton because it's the D3. It's a little smaller, but it gives you the opportunity to work hands on.
Yeah, you get immersed with the sport. So you get selected for a preceptor, and you get to put it like your name into a hat and say, I want to do football, basketball, lacrosse are my priorities. And they get sorted amongst the seniors first. Obviously, there's a little seniority in that. But once you're assigned to a team, you spend, 2 semesters a year working in depth and going to practice as if you were a player. And at Castleton, they allow you to play a sport if you'd like to. But they say you can only play one because you have to understand that you're going to be putting in the same amount of hour commitment essentially as these players. You're going to be there before they are. You're doing all the setup. You're getting there early, finishing up late depending on the sport. And depending on what injuries arise, you may have to stay late. You may have to arrange transport. You may have to do all those kind of things. And it's definitely not a 9-to-5 job.
So you kind of said this about, some of those responsibilities. What's something that you figured out, like, once you got a hands-on and on the job, like, oh, didn't know this was going to be this way. Was there something that, hit you like that at some point early on?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things that you learn in school, but there are some things that you don't, and there are things that you can touch on as when you're working with preceptors. But when someone has a really serious injury, the emotional part of that, the family part of that, just dealing with the emotions that come with that, and when you live in with these teams, you hang out with these guys and these girls, depending on the sports that you work with, and you become really close. And when something bad happens to them, I mean, you feel it too. I mean, we have empathy for them, and you don't want to see that kind of stuff happen, but you have to be their resource and be the person who's like most calm, most like got an answer for everything. And like, if I don't have the answer, we know where to find it and everything's going to be all right. So the first time I had like a career-ending injury at St. Rose when I was working there, that was definitely something that was difficult to handle those emotions that everyone goes through, the ups and the downs of those kind of things.
So when something like that happens, obviously you're assessing the injury. You don't necessarily know the severity of it, but I'm if certain things, there's certain signs that kind of point to that sort of thing. But during that process, I mean, how far do you go of saying, everything? Like, do you ever say everything's going to be fine? Like, do you ever? I don't want to say fake hope, but do you ever, kind of support them in a way of hoping, hey, let's get it checked out. What it could be this, it could be that. Let's not go to the ends of the earth yet. That sort of thing.
Like like a bedside manner for like a physician. You go to the hospital and it's okay. Like, their goal is to not get you to freak out.
Yeah, no, there's definitely a little bit of that plays into it and how you talk about things, because even the best doctors, the best athletic trainers, you can have a test and have a false positive, false negative. Those things happen. So it's really important to be level with what you say and be clear about it and be like, I don't know this for sure, but everything that I'm seeing suspects that this could be the thing, and I hope I'm wrong. I always hope that I'm not right about this. I get no joy out of being correct in those kind of moments, but that's really important. And to be like, hey, and even if it is that, this is what's ahead of you, like, because sometimes the unknown is the scary part. Right?
Absolutely.
Like, I don't know what happens next. It's like, no, the thing that happens next, we go to get a picture, we get an MRI to confirm. Okay, we've confirmed, then what? We line up our options, we talk to surgeons, figure out what locality, if there's a person you like best, works for you, and just talk about the plan and the process. And if you can get people to buy into that part, it's a little bit easier for them to deal with the emotions of going through a significant injury.
Sure, it can be real scary. You know what I mean? You just don't know. Just having the ability to be like, yeah, let's take the steps before any kind of, decisions made, so to speak, in your head. It's easier said than done.
So I wanted to talk about, you go to Castleton to get your degree in that, talk about, kind of your road to where you are now. And then, side to that is, talk about the, going to, work for the Empire, and then obviously now, and then the Firebirds as well. Kind of tell me a little bit. You said you worked at St. Rose, and talk a little bit about some of your steps.
Yeah, so I mean, I graduated from Castleton with my bachelor's, and then once you graduate, you have the degree. You still have to pass the test. There's a national accreditation test that goes along with that. You sign up for it, take it. Once you take it, you're certified, and then depending on where you're going to work, you have to process your licensure registration depending on the state. So, first opportunity I had was just actually at Castleton. They're like, "Hey, we need someone per diem. We got a couple of shifts that we can't fill. Can you come back?" So you sign up for the Vermont licensure. You submit all your documents. You get approved, and then you're good to go. After that, my first full-time job was going to be at the February 2019. I graduated 2018. I got a job at St. Rose as an assistant athletic trainer, small staff of 3, working with primarily, I worked with women's soccer a bit. I worked with men's basketball, volleyball, and some baseball. So got a little bit of all the different kind of sports working there. I spent 3 years there, and smaller school, you run into it at any entry-level athletic training job. They don't pay you that great. It's not always that good. So had an opportunity come to my door, basically working for St. Peter's Health Partners. They wanted to add an athletic trainer to their physical medicine staff. So physical medicine providers are called physiatrists. They very oftentimes are sports related, but not always. They work in rehab settings. So they just kind of approach it from a non-surgical view. So I spent 3 years there. That's where we got hooked up with the Firebirds, because as soon as I started working there, the chief executive doctor at Sunnyview was like, "Hey, we're looking for opportunities to work with sports teams. Do you know anybody?"
Oh, that's awesome.
And so first thing that popped in my head, I had worked with the Empire in their first rehab after COVID happened and everything. We had that shortened season there. And one of my coworkers at St. Rose at the time was like, "Someone approached me about this job. I don't know if it's for me, but I think it would be great for you." So I went to a practice with her, and I'm like, "Oh, this is awesome. This is, I've always wanted to work with football. Football's one of my favorite sports to watch. So being involved with it in that capacity was just great." And, when Dr. Sun and Jerry said, "Hey, do you know anybody?" I'm like, "I think I do. Let me see. Let me call Coach Ware and see if he would still take me back." I'm like, "Do you have all of your medical stuff set up yet?" And he goes, "No, we don't. What's going on? Do you need a job?" And I was like, "Well, we have an opportunity to work and do everything top to bottom." So, and being integrated that way was so fantastic for us as an organization, for the Firebirds, and for myself, because everyone is connected. It's so easy for me to, ring up Dr. Douglas and be like, "Hey, I got a guy. I think this is what's going on. Do you think we could get an image?" And he'd just be like, "Yeah, sure. We can get that done."
That's the best.
And we had MRI at my office. So call the scheduling tech, be like, "Hey, can we get someone on the board today? You got room?" She's like, "Absolutely. Send them over." So
can we put him in the claustrophobic tube?
We ran into that a couple of times. She said, what kind of position are we talking about? He's not fitting in my machine.
I'm glad that you bring it up, because, I think all of us on some level are a professional sports fan. And you see somebody go out in a game on we'll say Sunday Night Football, and then by Monday morning, they already have an MRI. So I'm thinking to myself, how do they get that done so fast? It's because they have a relationship with an organization like yourself for that to happen. Because anybody off the street would probably be looking at 3 to 6 weeks for an image.
Yeah, and if you're waiting on insurance, and I mean, working with sports, cash is king. We're like, "Hey, we're just ready to go. We want to do this, and we have all the things. We don't have to wait for approval. We don't need prior authorization." All those kind of things can expedite the process. And like you said, having an established relationship with somebody that and being able to get everything, cross your T's, dot your I's, and get everyone where they need to be.
So how do you so like when you were at Castleton and obviously St. Rose and some of these other places, what was the kind of the balance between prevention versus rehabilitation versus like during a game, guy gets injured on the field? What's the kind of balance there in terms of prevention and rehabilitation and that kind of thing?
Prevention can be it's an important topic to cover, and it can be difficult because you don't have eyes on everybody 24 hours a day. You can't control what everybody does. You can only provide information and give them resources, right? So my big thing with prevention is the first 2 things that you absolutely have to do is you have to have good nutrition. You have to have good sleep. There's nothing that I can do, no massage, no laser treatment, no cryo, nothing that can overcome like that lifestyle issue. Like you have to take that seriously. And lots of times if I see a lingering injury, I'm like, "Do you sleep well?" And they're like, "Oh, I get 5 hours a night." I'm like, "Oh, well, that could explain that tendinopathy that you're dealing with." So that's a big part of prevention. And then making sure that
what medical word did you just use?
What's that?
What did you use?
Tendinopathy.
Try again.
It's you know, condition of the tendon where everything connects to the bone.
Okay.
So
So it's like a fatigue thing.
Yeah.
It's overuse. Yeah,
Okay.
very yeah. An overuse injury would be a good way to describe that. So prevention is also going to be like, what's your workout load? What are you doing? Are you strength training on the side? Like, are you getting extra work afterwards? Like, what's the practice volume? What are you actually doing in practice?
Well, that's the next question I had for you. Being involved, you know, I'm just going to use the Firebirds for an example.
Yeah.
Where do you come in terms of 24, the team was pretty beat up.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you come into the equation of, hey, I'm seeing this with this group? How do you go to coaches? How do you fit in and say, hey, for example, maybe this, Thursday practice should be a walkthrough or things like how do you communicate without being in the way at the same time?
Yeah, that all starts from the relationship you have with the coach, and I'm fortunate that every year I've worked with Arena Football, I've worked with Coach Ware, I know him pretty well, so it's really easy for me to go into his office or give him a call and tell him like this guy's really struggling with something, and I think we need to lower it. But one of the things that's very unique about arena ball compared to other sports that I've worked with is load management is almost impossible with the active roster size.
Yes.
You can't have,
I know.
if I can have, a full roster of guys, I can be like, okay, John Smith here, he can do his normal job on offense, but he really can't do special teams.
Right.
And that's just not a luxury that we have in this business at all.
No, not at all. And just looking at it from an NFL perspective, like going on a tangent a little bit, but now it's 17 weeks, right? And there's the only thing that they have done is expanded the practice squad roster. They haven't added any.
It's still 53 guys.
Yeah, and it's just like you sit here and you watch these guys and listen. They get rewarded for putting their bodies on the line, but the reality of it is like, as an NFL team, how the heck do you keep these guys healthy over a 18-week season? Was one bye in the middle, and I can only imagine how it's like in the arena because there's only 3 inactive players a week.
Yep.
And that that's I'm assuming a combination of strategy and health, performance, and
I mean it was what 12. It was like 10 or I'm sorry, like 12 games in 16 weeks or something like that. I mean, it wasn't like it's not the NFL, but it's still a huge load of
absolutely
work.
It's definitely a lot of work, and like if a lot of people who didn't know arena ball saw like what their daily schedule is, I mean,
especially in Albany,
they would be very shocked that these guys come in. I mean, I can speak for myself. Like when I'm open the training room for practice, I'm there at 5:30, so that I can get ready and have everything that they need set up by the time they get there for their 8 o'clock practice time. Go through a 2-hour practice slot, squeeze as much treatment into an hour before lunch. Then they have meetings, and then I'm hanging out there afterwards too, waiting to see like based on need and volume, like who's scheduled an appointment to be seen for something that's going on. So, yeah, definitely. And I would say that in arena ball, there's some injuries that for most people, for most other sports, you could manage and it would be pretty minor, but these guys are going to end up inactive because they're not available. And availability is the number one thing
the best
that a guy can be.
Availability is the best ability.
Yeah.
How doing arena ball, I always wondered this too because like you can hit guys on the sideline. You gotta cringe every time you see a guy getting smushed against the board.
The first time I saw the wall hits was definitely a wake up call for what we were dealing with. Made me check out the corners of the field a little bit more on my walkthroughs. So
yeah. I mean, even traveling. I mean, I would say that I think to me, the Albany facility is probably one of the safest ones. But you've been across the country, and there's a whole different way that certain arenas are put together, and I can only imagine how, for you, I'm sure you're like, man, there's a lot of opportunity for a lot of injuries on this field.
Yeah, there definitely can be with certain fields. I'm not going to call anybody out
definitely
by name,
not.
Obviously, some places that are no longer operating would be easy targets for those kind of things.
Sure. Yeah, I know what you mean.
But going around, that's why one of the first things that I do when I get to any stadium is I try to connect with the other athletic trainer as soon as I get there, because that's when I'm least busy. The guys are still kind of mulling around, and I want to get to know the facility. I want to get to know where their emergency service is and what their plan is for when something bad happens. And then I also take it upon myself to seek them out when they come to us. Is that I want us to be visible. I want our doctors to be visible.
Oh, that's huge.
I want them to know who to look for in the case of the emergency.
And that's kind of, somebody actually put it up on a comment, but basically like they said, like when even, an away player gets injured and it's like, right there, like immediately talk about that relationship too, where, whether you're here in Albany or on the road and it's like, yeah, obviously your whole goal is to the safety and the well-being of that player, no matter what uniform they're wearing. Just talk about that kind of work that you guys do together. Like you as an athletic trainer for here, and then whoever it is, say in like Nashville or wherever. Talk about that in terms of how you guys work together. In that game situation.
Yeah, so I mean, like I said, when we try to get together in the beginning to have a quick talk about what our resources are, what's available for them. I like to tell them, hey, I got extra hot packs. I set up some moist hot packs in your locker room, gave them all the supplies that they need, and then most of the time, if you're the home person, like I like to give the other like athletic trainer space. I don't want to be like over their shoulder and be like, what do you need? What are you doing? But I always want to make sure that I'm visible. I want to be in their side eye so that if they go, oh shoot, it's not this, I think it's this, they can turn and be like, hey, we need the vacuum splint kit. And I know exactly what I have to go get and that we're prepared for that. And those are the biggest things when it comes to like working with other professionals in this world is just, you don't get a lot of time with each other. The games come and they go and teams leave and all that. But just making sure that what you have, they're aware of, and that what you're prepared for, they know where to get those resources.
What do you have to typically, I'm assuming you over prepare.
Yep, absolutely.
But what do you bring typically on a road? Like you, obviously, in Albany, here's the room for these things. Mm-hmm. When you go on the road, is there any kind of like, I don't want to say hope that things are where they're supposed to be? Have you run into a situation where
you can only bring so much on a plane or a bus?
Yeah, you can only bring so much. I mean, there have been times when we travel that we have like a travel van, and that is very useful for me. And I'm always working with the equipment manager to load that thing up with everything that I can bring. Otherwise, I bring as many resources as I can in my kit that we pay that we have to bring a kit. That has to come with us. So the home team usually has like the AED, the crutches, and the splint bag. Those are kind of the big ticket items that you need to have. But everything else besides like, tape, you're bringing gauze with you, you're bringing like Vaseline with you, you're bringing like over-the-counter medications with you so that anything that comes up, and we actually had a dental issue this year pop up at one point where they're like, oh, now we're in another state and I have to find an emergency dentist. So
I know that story. We talked about it last season. Who the heck was it? You don't have to name names, but I know we talked about it.
Yep.
Maybe it was off camera, but we won't go down that road. But I'm aware of that.
Yeah, that was interesting. And so then you're calling up the other athletic trainer and it's like, this is a really weird question. You got an emergency dentist that you would recommend in this area? And he's like, actually, the place that I go takes on-site appointments. You could go here. So that worked out.
So this kind of goes a little bit segue into my next question is, you're on the sideline. You've prepared as much as you can for obviously before the game, guys getting taped, all this and that and the other thing. And the game is happening and guy goes down. Let's say, a leg injury of some kind, let's say, just to use that as an example. Walk me through the approach of guys down. Here comes Mike. Trying to figure out what the heck has happened. Talk me through that situation.
Yeah. So the process for that is, anyone who's done like a medical athletic, it's like no obvious deformities noted, like that you might see on a note. Like that's going to be the first thing.
The bone is not sticking out.
Nothing is sticking out of the skin. Everything is facing the correct direction. Great.
Critical.
And then ask them about like what they felt. Like, did they feel a shift or a pop, or is it just painful? Like those are the kind of questions that you're going to go for. And you're going to want to kind of narrow it down between, is this like a soft tissue injury? Is this an issue to a ligament or to a muscle and they might have some weakness? Or is this like a stability issue? Are they going to have like a ligament tear? Are they able to bear weight on the sidelines? Like, are they able to go down the hallway, walk and run, and those kinds of things? So I try not to do a full evaluation on the field because I know they don't want to be out there. My one thing I usually tell people is like, we're on your time. When you're ready to stand up and move, that's when we're ready. Like, this is my time. I'm going to be on the field for the first time today. Like, let me have my moment out here. So if you're ready to go, we'll go. And if they think they can get up, good. And that's another opportunity to me, just like the functional. Can they walk? Do they need to be supported? Like, can they bear no weight at all? Those are going to be the kind of things that we're thinking of. And how's their range of motion? Like, can they actually move that joint?
So it's almost like a flow chart in your head almost.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, it's kind of like an algorithm flow chart thing that's going on. And we get to the sideline, we do the evaluation, say we're talking about a knee. All the ligaments seem stable. Great. Okay. They have some pain with like end range flexion. They're not moving it great. It's not super swollen yet. It's like, if everything feels stable and they have good muscular strength, these are, especially with the Firebirds, for an example, these are grown men. Like if
Yeah.
they want to go back out and they've shown me that they're stable and they're functional in their own capacity, I'm not going to tell them they can't deal with a little bit of pain.
Right.
And I usually like to use function as the best thing. Like we'll go in the back where no one can see us. Like, can you run? Show me. Like if they physically can demonstrate it to them, or if the opposite happens and they're like, man, I really am kind of surprised. I thought I'd be able to do that. Then it's like, I'm not telling you can't play. The evidence is telling you, right? And I'm just making you see the process.
Right. Well, that's the thing. It's buying, like everything else in life. It's buying, understanding what the actual situation is, right? So if you had a situation where the player wants to play, you're on it. It's in mid game. What is the mechanism there? Like for instance, say it's a.
Where's the ability to save a guy from himself?
Right, and that what is the mechanism? Say he's a defensive back.
Yep.
Do you go to, let's say, Coach Hobbs and say, hey, I think he's like 50-50 at best. Like what's the hierarchy there?
Yeah, so I mean, I'm going to go back to just the functional aspect of it, and also like my concern for stability. So say we're talking about a knee, and I do a Lockman's test for ACL, and I don't love what I feel, and they're not super, not demonstrating that they can move very well, but they're still adamant they're going to play. We've all met these athletes. I definitely have in my career met these people who are adamant that they're going to do what they want to do no matter what. But it's something like that. You're going to go tell the coach is like, I don't think he's stable. It's just not really a question in that one. If it's just like, I don't really know what it is, he's got a lot of pain, his range of motion's okay, it's just like you're gonna have to just be sure that this isn't something that's going to be a long-term detriment.
Sure, right. It's going to turn into a tear versus
right.
Well, the other thing is too, and I think this is one that a lot of football fans, not just arena ball, but football all across, is something. You see these guys in the NFL, go into the blue tent, right, and then it's like, for other injuries, but then like right now they obviously have an independent doctor in terms of the concussions. Tell me how that works in terms of how you do it, in terms of, you see a guy, whatever it is, and it's like, is it kind of like you, or is it you working with the other doctors? Like you mentioned a couple of the other doctors that kind of work with the team. Tell me how that works if you have to put somebody in a concussion protocol, or how that would work.
It depends a little bit on just like how they respond to me. I mean, if I suspect someone has a concussion, it doesn't matter really what level you're at. You're not going back in that game if it's up to me. Sometimes people get a little pushy, and sometimes like, okay, well, I did my evaluation. Let's just go talk to the doctor. Like Dr. So-and-so's here, bring him in and we'll do another evaluation. And if their evaluation is concurrent, it's like, there's not really anything. There's no wiggle room.
Yeah, it's not non-negotiable at that point, right?
The independent neurologist is obviously great, and that came about for not so great reasons because the NFL didn't have such a good track record of dealing with that in long years past. But it's better when you don't have a vested interest, because anyone who's watched a game. It's difficult for me. It's one of the things I've felt was difficult my whole career is I do get invested in the sports that I watch and the people that I work with. And if you've watched the Firebirds game, you might see me yelling a little bit, hooting and hollering, because I get excited for these guys. I want them to do well.
Hey,
so
you're in it with them. I mean, you're there as much as they are.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
I was going to make a thing about the Giants, but they're so bad I couldn't.
I can take it.
I want to go back to the prevention part. Like we talked a little bit about that. We kind of talked about the in-game stuff, but I want to talk about kind of the prevention stuff where it's like guys dealing with nagging injuries, because I think the things that happen in a game like that just happens. Guys get hurt. It's not ballet. We're colliding. It's a collision sport, right? What is it in terms of like those nagging things where you might have 5 or 6 or 10 guys, oh, my knees feeling rough, oh, my back, my shoulder, blah 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 blah. Talk about some of those things in terms of how you work with those guys to be like, okay, here's a rehab thing for you, here's a way to maybe help the shoulder, whatever like that.
Yeah, so in years past, when we do physicals, we have our physicals done by Cahoe's Family Care. Dr. Chatterthil and Dr. Brennan over there did a great job of taking care of our guys. We even did it, I think the first year we did it on an off day so that there was no one else in the clinic. And in that situation, I just kind of sat in the exit room as they were leaving, and I'm like, okay, what did doc say? What bothers you? Like anyone who's been an athlete for a while knows, it's always my right ankle. It just kind of pops up halfway. The sooner that I know something, the more I can get on top of it. So I made a list of all the guys, anyone that had a history of a nagging injury. And then we kind of put together a plan. It's like, I want you to do these things daily, whether it's just a TheraBand or a balance exercise, or incorporate something into their strength training that's going to kind of help buffer that area, support the joints above and below whatever's bothering them, so that that area doesn't get exposed to as much stress. That's kind of the goal of those things.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the interesting thing. Again, we always seem to be using the NFL thing, but it's kind of like, people go, oh, like I see this guy, on Sundays, and it's like, oh, well, whatever he has or whatever, but it's like the behind the scenes of it is completely different.
Yeah, and you meet athletes, and there's a lot of them out there that don't always want to go to their athletic trainer, and they kind of wait and they wait and they wait and they come to me. So I try to say in any beginning of the year meeting that I have with people is that I want to be a resource to you. I don't want to be a hindrance to you. And I know you think that athletic trainers take people out of games, and that's something that we do. It's part of our job. Of course, I'm not going to tell you I'll never do that. But the sooner you speak to me and the sooner you tell me about something, I have options. If you wait 2 weeks and you're like, man, I really can't even walk, my ankle is killing me. Now I don't have any choices. I'm kind of handcuffed with what you've presented me with. So the sooner that you have a dialogue with me, I would much rather tell somebody and be like, hey, dude, you're fine. Like, I'd rather have that simple conversation and educate them on what's going on, rather than have them wait and wait and wait. And then now it's like, oh, especially in this industry where it's like, oh, now you're missing the practice. Now you're missing a game. Now you're getting sent home.
Right. And I mean, the sooner the better. I mean, something simple as, hey, let's get you an ankle brace.
And it's got to be tough too, because everybody is scared of the Wally Pipp thing. Like Lou Gehrig getting, Wally Pipp being the starter for the Yankees, and then Lou Gehrig taking over and then never leaving. Mm-hmm. I think that's a thing that professional athletes are scared about, nervous about. So it's like, they may. How do you gain the trust of these guys to realize, if I'm taking you out, there's a reason for it, but I'm also not trying to keep you out because I want you to be, you know what I mean? Like, how do you gain the trust with these guys, especially in Arena League where everything is 1-year contract?
Yeah, I think it's just about the dialogue and, the moments that we have. I always want to be a part of as many team functions as I can. Always being at the opening year meeting and be like, hey, I'm your guy. And it's been awesome over the last few years I've had with the Firebirds, is that we've had maybe it's not everybody, but we've had a few returners. So I like to lean on them and be like, these guys have already gone through a full season with me. You can ask them. You can text me. You can call me. I'm available to you as a resource. And, like you said, we're in it with them every day. So I think that grind and being with them and not just being some person who shows up on game day makes them realize, like, okay, he wants me to be successful. He wants me to do these things. And I would never take somebody out if there was anything other than like a valid medical reason.
Mm-hmm. Well, tell me about a time, excuse me, that like, and this can be not just the Firebirds, but any place you've been, in terms of someone had an injury and you were able to, significantly improve their outcome based on your professional expertise. Can you tell me one that you can think of off the top of your head?
There's a couple that come to mind. I obviously want to keep it like HIPAA compliant and all that. I don't want to give anyone up.
Oh, no, I don't mean, just very generic, of course.
That's just definitely the best part of it. I mean, there's one thing that I think is unique about athletic trainers compared to other medical professionals is there's a continuum of injury, right? People are healthy, they get hurt, they get seen, they get treated, and they go back to playing, right? That's just kind of how it works. We're one of the only professionals that have a hand in the entire part of it. I mean, we're there when they get hurt. Lots of times, and especially in this setting, I'll take you to your appointment, speak directly with the doctor about what they want to do, execute a treatment plan, and then I get to say, okay, yes, you've made all the things that we've needed you. You got your range of motion back, your strength is back, and your pain is gone. Let's hit the field and let's go. And that's definitely the best part, is seeing the way they react when they get out on the field and getting them back to what they love to do.
What do you, we talked about this just a second before we came on or whatever, it's similar to teacher, where you have to have professional hours and you always have to maintain the certifications and stuff. Talk about staying up with, the newest research. Again, you just talked about concussions, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, isn't anything like it is now in terms of concussions. Talk about just, kind of going through that process in terms of you have to stay up to date on the latest things in the field.
Yeah, every 2 years to keep my license, I have to maintain a minimum of 50 credit hours of education. That can come in different forms. It can be asynchronous. It can be going to conventions. It can be listening to different speakers. There's a handful of different ways that you can get it. But it's critical to stay up to date and stuff. And, being social with other like professionals like yourself. I mean, I can't tell you how much like benefit I got out of working at a St. Peter's and being with the doctors, like actually being in the same office as them, seeing all these patients, and not all of them are athletes. So you get to see a lot of different stuff and talk about different treatment options and, going to the conferences and those kinds of things, getting newsletters, hey, this has really worked out for us. And we've seen like significant statistical increases with this kind of stuff. So it's stuff that you want to work into. It's definitely a grind to stay on top of it all the time. And it's just that every time you finish your reporting year, it's like, oh, I'm finally done with that. And then the 2 years go by, it comes back again. And, New York State is changing their laws recently. Actually, we are moving from a registration setup to a licensure setup, which is going to be better in a lot of ways. It defines our scope of practice a lot better.
Well, I'm glad you said that, because that was actually one of the questions I had. Like, what is your scope of practice?
Yeah,
it's easier said than done.
Yeah, it's definitely not explicitly written, as I have found out in my time working at St. Peter's. It's really hard to like narrow it down. But the best way to describe it, works at the direction of a physician working with athletic and sports orthopedic injuries. That's kind of, and it depends on who your doctor is, how much time you work with them. You can kind of make standing orders for a lot of things. I mean, technically from the playbook, like relocating a joint is not in your scope. But if your physician has worked with you, you've done some of those CEU guidelines on relocations, and he says, okay, well, there's actually a 50% better hospital outcome if it is reduced in the field. I want my athletic trainer to at least attempt 1 or 2 times every time. Like,
how critical is it to keep an open mind when you get these new certifications? Because you haven't been doing it a little period of time. We've been doing. How long have you been involved in it?
I have been since 2019. So
we're talking coming up on
7 years.
7 years. Yep.
Medicine. A lot of things have changed in 7 years. How important is it to stay open minded and be like, all right, no, it's done this way.
Yeah.
And then you see a new practice. Like, how do you? Obviously, we have to buy in because it's science.
Yeah.
But like, how important is it to kind of keep? All right, well, this is different, and I got to embrace it.
Yeah, one of the things that I've kind of changed, I mean, I learned when I first started, everyone knows ice, right? That's the best thing you can do. That's always what they've said. And that's something that I've kind of moved away from, because ice is a global process. It slows everything down, meaning it slows healing down. It's great that we got our swelling under control and your pain's not bad, but we delayed your healing process. So when it comes to soft tissue injuries, I try to stay away from it with muscle stuff for the most part. I try to tell people that pain should be your guide. If you can't exercise or do any range of motion stuff with me at all, then it's time to ice it. But if you can do stuff and the ice doesn't change your outcome for you in the morning and you can still do the rehab with me, I'm not a huge fan of that.
Well, that's interesting. I haven't heard that before, but I'm also, very far removed from competing.
Yeah, and a lot of the core stuff stays the same. I mean, like all the manual therapies, the cupping, the scraping, I do a lot of those. I got certified in dry needling, but I work in New York State, so I can't do that. A lot of those adjuncts are great, but they're not going to change like the core of the problem when it's there. You gotta make sure that I'm always preaching that we got to do our exercises. Like if you're not doing the rehab exercises that I give you, and I have an online tracker for the system that I use, coach comes to me and he's like, hey, how's so-and-so doing? And I check my app. It's like, oh, he hasn't reported doing anything. He hasn't done any of the stuff that I've asked him to do. Right. So
that's no good.
That's definitely a way to keep guys accountable, is like, this is your lifeline. So like, I'm not going to track your exercises for you. This is here for you to do. I've already made everything up. You track everything. And this is my line to coach. Like, so if I go to coach and he asks me about you, 100%. If it says he's 100% compliant, then that's what I get to tell him. But,
well, that's the thing. And like, I hate to put your guy in the spot, but we'll say Abdul Carter, right?
Yeah.
Like he's not doing the things that he needs to do to be a professional athlete. So there's not a quicker way to get out of any situation to continuously do not the right thing.
Yeah, definitely.
And like, it's up to you to be a professional. If you're not a professional, then you could be an unprofessional somewhere else.
Yeah, I tell guys all the time, I'm like, if you want to work, call me. I'm not chasing you anywhere. You guys are grown men. You want to play a professional sport, college sport, whatever it is. If you want work to do and you think what we're doing isn't enough, let's talk about it. What do you think we can add? Yeah. Like if you have more time, if you want to do extra exercises on the side, you want to find something else, find another resource. Like there are people in every profession who are like, I do it the best way. Sure. That's definitely not the perspective that I have. I think that as like medical professionals, we work best when we're collaborative. Yeah. The more open we are to talking with each other. I mean, I had an athlete at Hudson Valley the other day who was going to PT, and she's like, does that mean that I can't work here? I'm like, absolutely not. I'm like, why don't you go to PT? Go to your first appointment, come back, tell me what you're doing. tell me where I can be a resource to you. Like, can we do the exercises on an off day or something like in between? Like, do you need more adjuncts from me with like manual therapy, cupping, that kind of stuff? And you do the other stuff with the physical therapist. I'm all game for that. The more we talk, the better we can serve the community of athletes, patients, whatever we want to call them.
Well, that's the other part of it is, obviously I agree with you. Can't operate I know best, but they also got to be able to trust you.
Yeah.
Like, I'm doing this for your well-being. I'm not doing it to be a jerk. I'm not doing it to get you away from whatever plans you have. This is what has to happen in order for you to continue to do what you want to do. So just trust me. Like, how often do you have to have those sort of conversations?
I would say I haven't had to have too many of them. I mean, it's always like, when you're taking someone out of something, especially like we're talking specifically about arena football, they're like, if I miss too many practices, I might get sent home. It's like, listen, if you do the work with me and we're on a good page and you're doing the right things as a professional, and the coaching staff and everybody knows that you're doing the right things and you're being a good teammate and showing up and all that, I don't think bad things are going to happen for you. And even when, casualties of the roster happen, when those guys have things happen, the coaching staff's going to advocate for them for somewhere else. They're going to give a call to another coach or another GM and be like, look, we had to cut him, but this guy works really hard. He shows up, he does all the things he's going to do. And that goes a long way. The last thing you want to do is be the guy who's just like, running off at the mouth at anyone in the organization about why they're doing you wrong or why you're specifically the one who's being targeted or something like that. So
yeah, it's important. That's the thing. It's what you do inside the building and outside the building and amongst your teammates. At the end of the day, just be a good teammate.
Yeah.
It's really not that. I mean, to me, it's not that hard, but everybody has different priorities in life.
That's true.
I got a very funny comment here from Denise, but it says Mike's therapy room is 100% the reason why I learned to keep my eyes forward when near the locker rooms. So we'll just leave it at that. That's That's a very funny comment.
I need to have better timelines on when the VIPs are getting towards, I guess.
Oh, and your mom called us giant haters because we're goofing on the Giants. Sorry, Susan. So I got the last thing I have.
Timeout. All right, so let's square it up. We'll get off the Giants for a minute.
Yeah.
Keon Coleman, same deal.
Yeah.
Oh, that's true.
He
benched what, twice?
Yeah. So I don't know what goes on, but he's been late or didn't show up to meetings. That's not the answer. Like, there's no quicker way to not get your next contract. It's to not do the minimum.
Yep.
So anyway,
and I think that works that way in anything. NFL, AF1, doesn't matter.
As fans, I mean, we definitely want to hear more. We always want to know those kind of stories and like what's going on behind the building, because it's hard to believe that there's 53 professional athletes plus the coaching staff plus the owners plus the medical staff, and that these things are still happening. But there's a reason that they keep it opaque, and I can imagine
100%.
that, I'm not divulging any sensitive information about anyone I work for either, because that's that hurts the brand, it hurts the organization. So you can understand the answers, but as a fan, they can be very frustrating. And it's just like, coach's decision. It's my decision. Okay.
So the last thing I have is, and I appreciate staying on for as long as we are. But what would you tell a kid coming out of high school, that says, hey, I think this athletic training thing could be really cool, and I think I'd be really good at it. What would you tell them in terms of going for that kind of a job?
Yeah, I would definitely tell them to go for it. Like, the education requirements have changed a little bit since I was in school. You used to have to get a bachelor's. Now it's a master's. Usually it's kind of a 3+2 5-year deal. But I would say it's a great job, and you get an opportunity to kind of work with very motivated people. And that was one of the things that I liked. I mean, I didn't want to necessarily work at a high school where you're dealing with all different kind of populations and
parents
people have different sports goals. Parents can be an issue as well. But you get to select who you want to work with. You get to work with highly motivated individuals. You get the best seat in the house to the sporting event of your choosing, or whatever you're assigned to if you're working in a college setting. And you still get that team camaraderie. I mean, sports was a huge part of my life growing up. Loved playing all the, football, basketball, and all that kind of stuff. So being a part of a team, and, when you work with a good group, they really do bring you in. And, you feel like family.
Yeah, that's critical
with the team and with the coaches. And so, and it's weird, especially in like the 1-year contract arena deal, is that you have this moment in time where everybody is together, and you have all these people that you see every single day, and you can't imagine what the next day is going to be like without seeing that person. And then the season's over, and you don't know if you're going to get it again. And it's kind of like a weird, but like awesome memory that you're always going to have, like working with sports teams, where you're like, oh, do you remember that season where we did this, or where we came so close? And, but yeah, I would say that it's a great profession. I think that there's a lot of places where you're not always going to get paid the best. There's a lot of times where you're going to have difficulties with your work-life balance because it is a demanding job. I mean, practices early in the morning or practices late at night, or the weather and the games got changed. So I know you had plans next Saturday, but that's when we could reschedule the game. So there's definitely some highs and lows that come with that. And there's a lot of professions that are like that.
So just to wrap it up, so 24 was 24. How much better was 25 from a planning perspective for you? I feel like that was like a 180 from 24 to 25.
I mean, 24 was a great year. I can say this, that in my time with the Firebirds and the Empire, I have never not made it to a championship game. We didn't win every time. I have one ring at home, one coming on the way.
Excellent.
I was going to ask about that. Yeah. Did you get a ring? Yes, you did.
Yes, we do. I have not received it yet, but no one else has either. So, but yeah, it was a fantastic year this year. We really had such a great group of guys. Everybody was on the same page from day one of camp going into the last practice. It was just a great group of guys, and I feel very privileged that I got to work with all of them.
Yeah, for sure. And we want to really thank you for 45 minutes of your time this evening.
Wow, I know you're a busy guy, so thank you for taking the time with us. And so we're looking hopefully next week at some point. We're having Coach Gabe Young to come on. We're still trying to figure out days specifically for that to figure out exactly what we're doing, but more to come. We're going to be off getting up to the new year, and then 2026
season will be right on.
It'll be right upon us.
Coach Gabe's great. Shout out Coach Gabe, man. We work together really closely because he's the kind of the strength and conditioning guy. So we point athletes in different directions. They go to him for something. They're like, nope, you got to go talk to him first. And then I go talk to Coach Gabe and tell him what they
No, it's too bad that we didn't put you guys on at the same time. That would have been pretty great.
That would have been that would have been good. But no, we want to get everybody separate this time.
So, all right. Thanks everybody for watching.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Go Firebirds as always.
Excellent. All right. We'll see you next week.